Take this opportunity to offer Mr. Dan Deegan the opportunity to present on the Conifer project. As you choose.
If you don't mind, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you tonight, and good evening to everyone in the audience. Just to clarify, my name is Gwen O'Shea. I run an organization called CDCLI, Community Development Corporation of Long Island. And for some folks that were here, they were here last week and some folks weren't, so I just wanted to clarify, we're bringing the discussion back to the trustees at the request of Trustee Pettis to make sure that everyone had the same information related to the project that CDCLI and Conifer, and Cheryl's here from the Conifer team. I just wanted to take 2 minutes, if that was okay, to just talk a little bit about Community Development Corporation of Long Island and our role on the island, how we strive to provide community development and economic stability, and some of the work we've been doing for quite a bit in the village. So just briefly, we work in really helping individuals, investing in individuals' dreams from a community development, economic stability, and financial perspective. So just over the past year, we've helped secure housing for 6,000 individuals, which resulted in 14,000 individuals having safe, affordable homes. We've educated, counseled close to 1,300 individuals in financial fitness, mortgage foreclosure, and first-time home buying opportunities. We provided 431 single and multifamily residences with weatherization supports and energy efficiency, and that was really targeted at seniors and individuals with accessibility needs. We also, which is one of the areas we're most proudest of, is helped to create home ownership for the first time for 76 individuals, and we preserved 257 homes. And as we were doing this simultaneously within the village, we work very closely with the Hempstead Housing Authority, and Mayor, you were very helpful in writing a letter of support, which we were so grateful for, to receive resources from HUD to create the Ross program at your request and the request of Hempstead Housing Authority. And our organization provides additional funds to help subsidize the full-time staff person there to really make sure there are the resources and supports that residents within the Housing Authority look for. And most recently, we've been working very closely with the ESPRI initiative, again, to bring additional resources to the Hempstead community, as Hempstead residents have defined, really focusing on the Hempstead First model. And I just want to take a step back and talk a little bit how that work brings us to this project today. The mayor and I started our tenure at the same time when I joined CDCLI and you became the mayor in 2017, and we had talked about this project, and there are a number of issue areas that both you and Trustee Pettis at that time had identified as concerns when we talked about multifamily development and retail space. And so I wanted to just bring some light to how we've addressed those issues and gotten here today, really to meet the needs that you expressed on behalf of your residents. One of the first concerns you had was really ensuring that we support all residents within the village, and how could this project do that? You had concerns about density, and that you've heard from residents and have concerns that there are some apartments within the village that potentially are overcrowded, and you don't want to see that continue. You want to figure out how to mitigate that.
Mr. O'Shea, if I could just interrupt for a moment. Your presentation could be without my name.
Sure.
The inferences are just too one-sided, to be fair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I will retract that. Some of the things that I think were discussed that had come up related to leadership in the village was also any development or new housing, could that bring crowding to the schools, and how could that be addressed? Also, some relief for homeowners, property tax concerns, how could we support business growth, and how would any project ensure that it's paying its fair share to the residents? And so what this project does in terms of addressing those issues is really, over the course of a number of months, we've really looked at the project to see how we can ensure we are supporting all residents, and that is, for the documents that some folks have seen, there's a community benefit agreement that brings close to $3 million to the village. A lot of that focused on sewer and water connectivity to make sure there's capacity. Also additional supports, in particular, close to $400,000 of community supports that the trustees will oversee and decide how to allocate those resources, whether it's to a community center or to after-school programs, but those dollars will be allocated through the trustees. As it pertains to density, we've gotten allowances, and we're just waiting for HUD to give the final approval to allow for preference for village residents, which means anyone who is residing in the village, whether you're a young individual, you're a senior, you're a married couple looking for housing in the downtown area, you would be given preference, which would mitigate any issues for the school district, because it would be individuals that are already in the school district. As it pertains to taxes, and paying our fair share, the way that this project is structured and the tax agreement is structured, the development would pay the same taxes that the parcels of land are paying now. So while we're going through construction, which would be about 2.5 years, we would continue to pay those same exact dollars that are being paid to the village. When construction was completed, we will add an additional $50,000 to the tax payment, and once it's operational, the taxes will increase every year 3% for the duration of the project. Now, there's no guarantee that the businesses that are there now will continue to pay the taxes because they may close or move someplace else, but this project, for the duration of it, would continue to see and allow for the village to see an increase in tax revenue. Additionally, from the business growth perspective, the project has close to 23,000 square feet of retail space, which will be built out to be new, really great, attractive, first floor retail space for some of the larger commercial buildings that I know many folks have expressed interest in seeing come to the village. Because there'll be density in terms of individuals being there 24/7, that's very attractive to different businesses to know that they'll have a market that will continue to access the resources or the services that they're providing. Additionally, that 23,000 square feet of retail space will bring in approximately $200,000 in additional tax revenue a year that's not being brought in currently. And finally, the piece, which it will take a little time to get to, but we do believe this project really can be the door opener for that, is to really help create greater home ownership, which will help to create relief in property taxes for current homeowners, as well as creating this additional retail space will increase the taxes that are coming to the village. And so overall, we believe that this project is a win-win for the village and for the residents for all the reasons that I've articulated. And I'd like to, I don't know if Kevin is here at this point, but I know that the village had retained counsel to, a consultant to sort of oversee and review the project and the overall validity and the financial stability within the project. And I think that Kevin would be presenting on that. But I just wanted to provide again I appreciate the opportunity to share that information with all of you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
We thank you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if there's some question you would like to ask, and this is the time to do so.
Good evening, Mayor, States. My name is Juanita Wilson, and I reside at 93 Surrey Lane in Hempstead. My husband and I purchased our home.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Well, it's not because of me. Come on. Can you hear me now? My name is Juanita Wilson. I reside at 93 Surrey Lane in Hempstead. My husband and I purchased our home in '79, so we've been here quite a few years. And what my question is, why is it that everything that wants to be done is always dumped to Hempstead? There are so many other towns that have rejected the developers in bringing in what they want to bring in, which is housing units. Now, Hempstead is already overcrowded. We don't need more buildings. One thing I really don't like is high-rise buildings because to me it's a problem. I hear every week of fires in these buildings, people jumping out to save their lives. We love the suburban area with our homes. Why do you think we moved here? We love homes, not buildings. As far as schools is concerned, there is so much to be done with the schools today, but it's nothing being done to help the kids. Lightning struck one of the schools and now they're sending them to Franklin Square to be in a school over there. So I want to know, why is it that Hempstead always opened the door for someone to enrich somebody else's pockets and not the residents in the community? The board is supposed to be for the community and the residents. So why don't you do that? Don't listen to the developers because they only want to enrich themselves. And once they build, they're gone. They don't care nothing about us. They can care less. No, we need a change in Hempstead. We have downtown Those buildings could be renovated. They don't have to be torn down and rebuilt. They already have a foundation. Why can't you renovate them and improve them? When you cannot go to Garden City and see a store, one of those stores on every corner. You cannot go to Garden City and see a 7-Eleven every 4 blocks. You can't see a 99-cent store, 5 of them on the same street. So why is it that you want to dump it to Hempstead all the time? We are also here to live, but we love the suburban area the way it is. I love my home. I want to keep my home. I'm a senior. My husband passed in '02, but I'm still trying to hold on to my home. But when you give these pilots out, that's doing nothing but taking me out of my home. So why not, if you're going to give them a tax break, give me a big tax break.
Comments from the audience, without comment from the up front, otherwise we'll be here for 2 days. Bill Shannon? Hold on one second. I'm just suggesting these are the comments from
Well, we may not want to respond to every comment, but I think it's fair that she gets answers. She asks for answers, and she at least answer it or respond.
If you can keep it nice and brief, go right ahead.
Sure. Ms. Wilson? It was Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
So I hear 100% what you're saying. I just like to address a couple of things. I'm on this side. A couple of things that you were mentioning. One being that we're not dumping, or anyone is not dumping or accepting anything here. That there is a complete, comprehensive plan that was done with various visionings that talked about, what was going to happen downtown. And a big part of what you've got to realize is renovating the existing structures that's downtown will not do anything for your taxes. Your taxes will stay the same because it's the same amount of square footage. And the issue that you have, not necessarily just with your taxes, is that the pilots that you're referring to, historically have been burdensome on the village of Hempstead in that they've removed taxes from the backs of commercial properties and placed them back onto the residents. That's not what's happening here. The taxes are actually increasing from what's there existing, so you're actually shifting some of your tax burden off of you onto commercial property. So that's not, that's exactly what it does.
We'll move on now because there's an awful lot of people who've asked to be able to be heard. Bill Salmon?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
I'm trying to think of where to start. There's so many points I'd like to make. I guess first and foremost, I'm trying to understand why there is even this proposal in front of the board.
We need to hear you.
I guess to start, I'm trying to understand why there's a proposal in front of the board for a project that has not received the approval of the planning board because they have failed to meet the conditions that approval was granted under. And not only do they not have an approval from the planning board, they don't have a building permit either. But on the concept of tax abatement programs, this is not your typical pilot that comes out of a county IDA or the town IDA, but this is nonetheless a tax abatement program. And to Trustee Daniel's point, while it may pay a few more dollars in taxes than the current properties are, the proposed development will not be carrying its fair weight of tax burden.
That's right.
233 apartments would have a huge impact on the school district. And Mr. President, Trustee Johnson, as President of the school board, is acutely aware of the challenges that are already present in our school system. Adding 233 apartments could do nothing but exacerbate those problems. The concept of putting more apartments downtown to be a catalyst, I think was the term that was used last week for the downtown area. We have had thousands of apartments in our downtown area within walking distance for 60 years. And those apartments have failed to sustain and create a viable and vital downtown which we desperately need. Tax abatement programs can be very helpful to the village. They work very well with Home Depot, they work very well with Staples, they work very well with Stop and Shop. But those were for a 10-year period, and then they went 100%. I suggest to you that within the scope of your powers to provide tax incentives for investment in the village, that it be restricted to anything that's going to expand our commercial tax base, our light industrial tax base, but most important, address one of the #1 problems we have here in the village, which is high unemployment. These projects must provide career jobs, not temporary 6-month construction jobs. We need real investment in this village, not developers that are coming in. The developers make the most money on housing projects, that's documented, okay? And they're trying to squeeze in every high-density housing project they can into the village of Hempstead because they think they'll get away with it. The people in this village know that is not the answer to Hempstead's future. We need responsible development here that will increase the commercial and light industrial tax base and provide career jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I have not seen a sketch of anything. I don't know what these buildings look like. I don't know anything about them. You're talking something that I have not seen. And all of us should see what you're talking about bringing into this village. So I don't know how you can even discuss it. Have you seen the board members? Have you seen them? Well, we haven't. And you're there to represent us. And we are supposed to see them. Have not seen them. First of all, I have not heard anything about the traffic study. What about water? You're asking us not to use the water because we're short of water now. How are you going to bring something else in here we don't have enough water? What about the sewage? I had 500 gallons of raw sewage in my basement. Okay, we don't have a sewage problem. We have a sewage problem on this part. You may not have it because they use the one for bringing it from Garden City and so forth and going down Jerusalem Avenue. Haven't touched this side of town. I'm very upset about that. And parking is another problem. If you come through Hempstead at 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening, when I'm sure, Trustee Daniels, you're probably on your job and you're probably someplace else, I don't know where. But to do that and try to get through Hempstead, it's like trying to go through the Long Island Expressway. You know, so we don't need it. Our schools, according to what I saw on television, upset me. They're saying that we have the worst schools in the nation. And how in the world are we going to bring 238 apartments and not have more children? How are you going to take care of that, trustee? Because you are president of the school board. And that's really something that you have to really work with. Our kids need better than that. We have all of those trailers. Those trailers are 30 and 40 years old. And if you go to them, you'll find, like I find, as far as the kids are concerned in some of those schools, they don't even have the internet. They don't have anything coming in. And these are kids we're trying to raise now. And I'm telling you, I've been there, I see it. And if you go to some of them, you'll see how filthy the floors are. They are filthy. And then they don't even have places. I'm just so upset about this. And then you're talking about bringing something in here again that's not really going to help us.
I'm talking about bringing it on.
Listen, you're a trustee sitting up there.
No, but no.
Just let me finish.
My question, you said we
Just let me finish. You're sitting there. You're going to be voting yes or no. I hope it's going to be no. Okay? But you. And we have a mayor who's going to be, I'm just upset. So I'm going to vote one way or the other. And you, one way or the other. And you, Mr. Daniels, I hope you know you've been in this community. Your parents live here. I don't want to see them with all of that raw sewage in their basement either. Okay? So you don't live here, you haven't lived here long, you live in a nice community, your kids go to a nice school. They don't go to the schools where our kids have to go. My kids did well because we as parents were able to keep the fire under people. But now it's a different story. We have people who are doing things for themselves. And that's not why you're sitting here. So I'm really upset. And then I want to know if any one of you on that board are working for developers. What about you, trustee? Are you working for the developer?
No.
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 Yes. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the fact that in New York State, we are entitled to have the names of every principal person that's involved with this. I mean, each person. That means if you're involved in it, I have to have your name, so forth and so on. It's no longer hidden. When it comes to the pilots, we get the names of everybody. It's no longer redacted. So I want you to know that. So I'm going to request that. I want to see the names of everyone who is involved in this. I'm serious. And I'm going to put out, if you don't want me to put it in writing, I can call him and tell him. I just talked to him today. His name is Bob Freeman. Robert Freeman is the name of the person who said that's what we're supposed to do. I know that because last February I asked him the same thing. So I really want to know the names. We need to know the names of all of them. We need to see the sketch or whatever you've done with these buildings. We need to see it in big so we'll know what you're talking about. And it's not right for you to do that. It brings us and we're sitting here, we don't know anything. It's just really upsetting to me that this again is happening to us here. I know I don't have much time. I'm trying to be nice and useful. But somebody else will come up here and ask for the rest of the things that are going on, okay? I'm going to respect time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I clarify something for you, Councilwoman? Mr. Mayor? During 2017, and Deputy Renfro, during 2017, when I was a consultant, who was I a consultant for? Do you
You
recall?
were consultant for the Mayor Hall and the Board of Trustees.
But the Board of Trustees for the Village of Hempstead, so I did not,
correct.
or would not, I'm not working for a
You
developer.
said you weren't, so that's it. That's all.
But you said I was.
No, she's asking you to say.
The salary was paid for by the developers. So we gotta report to the
So was everybody that was involved.
Your salary was paid for by the developers.
All right, let's move forward if you don't mind.
I want to make a comment for the developers.
If we can, please, thank you. Thank you.
Can I get a little bit quiet, please? I have a few things to say in regards to the development or lack thereof, because it's more lack thereof. For the past, and this is not pro or con for any development, but this is the facts. We have people here saying what they don't want. They don't want this, they don't want that. And then people complain about the condition of Hempstead, they complain about the way Hempstead looks. When we have this meeting with this many people, instead of people just saying what they don't want, I wish someone would stand up and say, this is what we should be doing in Hempstead. So, no, I'm not done. I'm not done. So the idea of nothingness, that's exactly what it is. For the past 12 years, not one building, really past 13 years, and we've been, this new administration has been on for almost 18 months. There's no sign of any development or anything positive going on. Okay, I'm going to compare the village of Hempstead to the River Nile. Okay, we have a bus terminal, we have the Long Island Railroad, we have east and west, you have North Franklin, South Franklin, you have Hempstead Turnpike, which goes east and west. That's why there's so much traffic in Hempstead. You have people coming to and fro through Hempstead. This area should be vibrant. We have nothing going on, so the idea of not doing anything, I just don't understand it. Maybe not this project, but the idea of we don't want anything in Hempstead. And as far as giving pilots, we just gave a pilot the other day to Martin Luther King Drive. Okay, that's low-income housing. They bought the building for $42 million. And we know in Hempstead, certain things we have to change. One thing we have to change is the crime. And you also have to be careful when it comes to investors. When people are willing to invest in the areas, it's two main things they're concerned with. One of them is the schools. We all know the conditions of the schools. The other thing is crime, okay? And anyone in here can admit that no area in Hempstead is immune to crime. Crime has happened, shots fired has happened almost every street in Hempstead besides the northwest section of Hempstead. Everywhere else, you have shots fired, according to the shots fired. So when are we gonna start saying what we can't do or what we don't want? It's enough people here, so I wish somebody would come up and say, this is what I want. It's a lot of people here, and we're a community. Someone should come up and say, you know what? This is the idea I have for Hempstead. I'm not happy with what I see for Hempstead. So, Mayor, can I ask like at least one person to come up to say what they're doing?
Well, okay, let's not change the format. Please, all people, we cannot change the format. Fill out the application and bring it up. Now, I just want to comment real quickly. We can't comment necessarily everybody's thing. But after the last administration, clearly, ladies and gentlemen, there was frustration. Because of that, a move was made near the end of the tenure, which included the giving away of the parking lots. We have to move carefully and slowly. Trustee Johnson made a great recommendation when he came on board. He would love to see an entertainment center. That would answer one of his own questions. Development is certainly something that's important. Yes.
That information could be given out, but it's not helpful unless we're going to put it into play, and that gives other people ideas.
I'm not sure where that went, but nevertheless, here we go. Deborah DeLong, please.
I can't stand.
Okay, Deborah.
Novice at these proceedings. This is not my forte. My attention was drawn because I just, for the life of me, could not possibly understand who would want a more intense population that's already in Hempstead. Who would want additional people? Now, this project, will that eliminate the overcrowding of single-family homes, 4 and 5 families per house? I don't think so. So we're going to have that plus additional housing. I think it is a disgrace. We really don't need to go in this direction, not at this juncture. Everybody here is of more than adequate intelligence. We can put our heads together and come up with a plan that doesn't upset your major taxpayers in Hempstead. We're footing the bill, guys. We're footing the bill. All this illegal housing and more people and additional school expenses. We're footing the bill. We're choking. This is not going to help that with additional people. Let's come up with a different plan, at least an alternative. I can't imagine who thought this was going to be good.
Thank you. Shelley Braithwaite?
Good evening,
Good
Mayor,
evening.
trustees, community. First, I'd like to know what the financial benefit of this project would be to the people in this community. Secondly, well, someone said it was 233 units. So I'm trying to understand how $50,000 after the construction is completed, $50,000 for 233 units is a benefit to this community when my taxes per year are $19,200. So almost $20,000 I'm paying in a one-family home. And you're going to bring 233 units into this community, and they're going to pay, after it's built, $50,000, and then they're going to get a 3% increase after that? Come on now. Come on, it's not fair. Now, I also trying to understand how this project is bringing jobs, and life back into this community, you're adding more residents on top of more residents on top of more residents when we don't even do code enforcement unless you have a complaint. Then you get code enforcement. But we don't even do code enforcement as to how many people are living in a single family home. And as I've shared here before, when I was on the school board, I asked the superintendent for enrollment by street address. And on average, it was 2 to 3 families in every 1 and 2 room apartment buildings, and 3 to 4 families in every single family home. So we can't even handle that, and we're going to build more apartments? I think that is unfair. As you trustee, I gave a proposal to the board, 2 actually, that I wrote up, put pictures and everything, as to what we could do in this village without developers. I think it's a mistake to have developers coming in here and we don't even have a plan for what we want as a community. How are you going to let these people who don't live here come in here and tell us what we want and what we need in our community? I think a great place to start, trustee, is a restaurant district. We have that court building and all of these office buildings all over here, and everybody gets in their car and leaves the 11550 and goes over to 7th Avenue for lunch every day. We could start right there. Right there we could start. And if we expand right up the street from where you are, expand the sidewalks, as I told you before, and make that a 1-lane street going out, put some sidewalk cafes around there, and wrap it around the old bus terminal, and have some foot patrolling out there so people feel safe, everyone would not leave and go to Garden City for lunch every day. That would bring some revenue in this community. So there are things, I agree with you, that we can do in this village ourselves. And I think that if we don't come up with a plan and what we want to see, we make task force for everything else. Why can't we create a couple of task force and develop something that's going to bring value into our community, because this is where we live. We don't have to live here. Do you think I really want to be here and pay $20,000 a year? $1,600 a month is what I have to pay for taxes before anything goes to my mortgage. It's not fair. I don't want to pay for another developer. I don't want to pay for another car dealership. I don't want to pay for anybody else except 87 Manor Avenue. And my taxes increase and increase and increase and increase because we think that we need developers to come in here. Baldwin wouldn't allow it. All the surrounding communities wouldn't allow it. But where do they come? To Hempstead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, mayors and trustees.
Good evening.
I'll be quick.
We just need to hear you.
My name is Andy. I live on Grove Street, 102 Grove Street in Hempstead. I'm 26 years old. I have lived here my entire life. I attended Prospect Elementary School, the ABGS Middle School, and Hempstead High School. I graduated John Jay College and I have a degree, bachelor's degree in criminal justice. To be honest, I'm here today because I enjoy living in Hempstead. I consider myself a success story. I grew up here and never was in any problems with the school system. I never had any issues in school. I want to support the affordable housing project. Where I'm living right now, I'm living with my parents. I am unable to move out because I can't afford it. I still share a room with my younger brother. And I feel like time is ticking for me to move out. I recently started a second job because I'm feeling the pressure of moving out, but it's so hard to live on my own. I just feel like it would be beneficial to be able to move out to a place that I can afford and I can be independent. And I hope that you guys encourage and that you all support the affordable housing project, just as it has been done in other towns. In doing so, we will help the community by allowing the young residents like myself to continue to work in Hempstead. I've worked in Hempstead my entire life, and also support our local businesses.
Thank you, Andy. Brittany Benoit. Okay, Stephanie Braxton?
Mayor and trustees. My name is Stephanie Braxton, and I live on Fairview Boulevard in Hempstead, and I'm a hardworking 26-year-old woman. I have a degree in business administration, and despite having a full-time job, I still live at home with my parents. It seems almost impossible to move out and obtain full independence that I desire. I was raised to set goals and achieve them, but according to the current climate and housing climate in Hempstead, it makes it feel nearly impossible to be here and gain my independence. To my knowledge, other areas have affordable housing projects, but those places are not home. Hempstead is my home, and I would like to stay here, but I feel like I have no choice but to leave. I'm looking for a second job because my family intends to move out of state, but other places are not home. I have family here, I have friends here, I'm trying to start a career here, and I hope that some type of affordable housing can be implemented in Hempstead for people my age. It's, I understand there's a lot of feelings in the room, but we don't want to leave. And I feel like people in my age group feel like we have to leave because our parents move out, or, who we're living with gets sick, or they can't afford themselves to be here. So I feel like people my age they want to be here, and we kind of don't have a choice but to go other places, to go up to other counties and stuff like that. So I really hope that some type of affordable housing is implemented in Hempstead. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Good afternoon, Mayor and trustees and the people in Hempstead. I'm originally from Hempstead. I'm not new to the town of Hempstead. Many of my family grew up here in this town, and it's not easy, There might be a lot of reasons why not to build new affordable housing in the area, while I can guarantee the positivity that will come to this town. I'm actually in trade school right now in the town of Hempstead, a new type of education coming to the town because the school system is failing, because of a lot of the students are creatives and they don't always believe in college or college education. There's other routes of schooling that can be accomplished. And I can guarantee that when people see their young adults from this town working hard for themselves, they'll wake up, not looking for a handout, but bringing inspiration to the young adults coming up in Hempstead. Having to move back with your parents or staying with family is a burden on everyone involved. Retail businesses also being built on the site will bring more jobs to the town. Not giving young adults a chance to grow stunts the growth and power in us all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephon Wells. I've been a resident here all my life, so is my family as well.
As well.
Yeah, as well. I hear a lot of people in the room. Like Stephanie said, there are a lot of emotions in the room. From my standpoint, after I graduated Hempstead High School, I went off to college. Coming back to Hempstead is a burden. I went to school, SUNY Albany, graduated from there. That community, that town, completely different from my home. I work back and forth. I'm traveling back and forth. I spend my weekends out here. I spend my weeks up there. And part of the reason is because I miss home. I want to come back to home. I can't afford to come back to home. I can't afford to come back to home and be independent. I can't. It's a lot. I'm not saying that this project is the answer, but an answer needs to be made. You asked, what can we do? I think we need to more so come together and figure out the best option. And I'm not saying that it is a project building with, 200 and, whatever the number may be, but there needs to be something affordable for young, educated people that leave Hempstead to want to come back to Hempstead and build our town. If not, you're just going to have the same repeated cycle of what's going on. I'm not in support of a rundown building being built in Hempstead just to be built. I'm in support of bringing people back who want to build our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Gary.
I'm here tonight as an individual to personally testify before you that I have read all the documents since 2008 which have led up to this bogus and deceptive proposal to construct 228 apartment units which these developers falsely present as beneficial and affordable to the people of Hempstead. Their documents show that only 8 units will be affordable to people earning $58,000. Thus, 97% of these proposed units are for people earning salaries between $60,000 and $105,000. This is not affordable to Hempstead, whose AMI is $53,000. These units are clearly not intended for the people of Hempstead. The use of this word affordable is being used to disguise what is going on in order to trick the people of Hempstead into supporting it. But the people are not so easily tricked. Moreover, everyone knows that Hempstead does not need any more housing simply because Hempstead is already overcrowded. And any more building will only serve to further overcrowd the community and create even worse problems than the community already has. Furthermore, as admitted the other night, this project is to be a catalyst, a first step whereby it will lead the way for the construction of 3,400 additional housing units, all of which will be high-end luxury housing, similar to the monstrosity built up there at 303 Main Street. The clear purpose of all of this luxury housing is simply to drive out the current residents who make room for the wealthy. The process is called ethnic cleansing. As most of us are aware, in 2015, Renaissance stole 17 village parking lots from the village by means of a fraudulent public hearing and a fraudulent appraisal process. Last year, one of those stolen parking lots, called Parking Lot 10, was sold to Dell Bus Company for $3.5 million. Renaissance got it for free and turned around and sold it for $3.5 million. This is how they so easily enrich themselves, and while everyone else works for pennies. Now Renaissance wants to sell another of the stolen parking lots to these developers so they can build this proposed complex on stolen parking lot number 8 between Main Street and Franklin Street up there by Bodell Avenue. Renaissance will undoubtedly pull in another $3 million or so when it sells this stolen land to CBC and Conifer, who plan to construct these units. Not only do they want to build on the stolen lot, they want to construct the project not with their own money, but with taxpayer money. $70 million from our federal and state taxes and $40 million directly from the village and the village school district, attempting to have this village board grant them a 30-year pilot tax break to do so. Thus, the $70 million from the federal and state governments and the $40 million from the village taxpayers will be used by them to construct the building with taxpayer money. Yet they will own the building and reap the profits. That is how it works. That is how Trump made his money, and they are following his underhanded example. To me, this represents the height of disrespect. No self-respecting board would allow this. This project must be stopped. As I see it, it is racist in intent and racist in its intended implementation. These developers, in my personal opinion, need to be run out of town, just the way Renaissance has been run out of other communities, which have had the insight and wisdom to see through these machinations and the deception. In my opinion, what needs to be done in this community is to tear up the master developer agreement and get to work on improving and rehabilitating the existing apartment buildings so that the residents in those buildings can raise their children in the clean, safe, and uplifting atmosphere that they deserve. After all, the multitude of residents in Hempstead are the descendants of those who built the wealth of this nation, and they deserve far better than what I have seen today on Terrace Avenue and in other sections of this community. Of course, it is true that jobs are needed for Hempstead residents, but that need can more correctly be filled through a program of rehabilitation rather than programs that will result in forced displacement of the residents. Rehabilitation must be the order of the day, not demolition and forced exodus. I pray that this board will have the wisdom to vote no on this horrible proposal and propose instead to get to the work of rehabilitation rather than displacement. Respectfully submitted, Catherine Garrett.
Thank you.
I'm a little insulted by Ms. Gary's statement. She continually says what people in Hempstead cannot afford. And I'm looking in the crowd and I see at least several people that I know make over $90,000 or $100,000. So the idea that everyone in Hempstead is, I see that make over $90,000. I don't want to say the people that, but no, what I'm saying is for her to keep saying about how impoverished Hempstead is, that's not the case. There's many people, security.
We can give the trustee an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Like I said, Ms. Kathleen Gary in the past has talked about poverty. She said she was against poverty from 590, 600 Fulton, which is considered affordable housing. She said the same thing for Martin Luther King Drive. She said there should be no policy for that building either. So, on one hand, you say it's for people with a lot of money for luxury apartments, and then you're against all poverty. So you have never been for any poverty.
This is not an opportunity to.
Well, I know, but.
I know what you're doing. There's other people on I'll be before this time, Dr. Sheila. Ms. Gary, get sit down, please. Thank you. Everybody will have 5 minutes. This is Dr. Sheila Elliott now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, Board of Trustees, to the community at large. I come to the mic tonight with mixed emotions. I'm a product of Hempstead. I grew up in Hempstead. I'm a product of Hempstead, and now tonight I'm hearing some different things, and I represent an 89-year-old mother who lives on 33 Manor Court. And I have to say to the mayor and the trustees, thank you for paving her street. I appreciate that. I think they deserve the applause for that. I really do, to the trustees. But for us to move forward in Hempstead, I need to better understand how are we going to revitalize Hempstead? How are we going to bring Hempstead back? And I'm not sure that bringing in more people is the answer. I'd like to know what we're going to do based on our councilwoman and sister Shelley. What can we do? Can we get a task force together to study what we're trying to do here in Hempstead so that we can revitalize downtown? My mother was a business owner in Hempstead for over 40 years. She raised her children here in Hempstead, and she refuses to leave. She loves Hempstead. Hempstead is a good place. It can be a good place, but we have to stop just bringing in stuff and trying to figure it out after it's here. I think we need to come up with a plan that is going to be a viable plan for the residents of Hempstead, the people that live here, the people that pay the tax dollars. My mother's 89 and is still paying over $15,000 in taxes. 89 years old. Where's she supposed to get it from? So we can't just bring in something, a pilot, that's not going to bring and revitalize Hempstead. So I'm asking you, the trustees, to please help us come up with a plan. So, because my mother can't come here and speak for herself. So I'm asking your help in that regard.
Thank you.
Hi, greetings, Mayor, trustees, Doris Shaw, 105, London, Holly Avenue. Why are we fighting one building at a time? You say you have a comprehensive plan. You want some positive ideas. You're the new board. You're the new board, right? Although the trustee, the mayor was there prior, but you'll have to change it yourselves. I've been fighting this plan for the last 15 years because we've got hoodwinked in this plan. Hall sold us out. For everything we tried and we wanted to have meetings, maybe they had one or two somewhere, I had a discussion, a person, they did have a meeting, but for the most part, they did not have well-informed, well-efficient, any paperwork, any ideas, they just kick things around. Next thing I know, everything's pushed through. How were we involved? When did we get input? They claim they had 200-something meetings, but I attend most of them, as you know. So we come to fight it every time in Hofstra till 11 o'clock at night, Kennedy Park until 9 o'clock, fighting with where is your comprehensive plan? They told me to go to Plainview. Really, Don? Plainview. What happened to that plan? Why are we fighting a building? One Washington, we're fighting that building. The bus depot, bus parking area that is private property, we fighting the building one at a time. Got extra about water wells. We have a water crisis. We have a sewer crisis. Before you're playing anything, that plan for the water well is supposed to be upfront and personal and have a plan of how it's going to be paid. And you know that, Don. That's what Councilwoman is saying. The sewer's backing up. You can't keep adding a building. We added affordable was 303 North Main Street. We added Attorney Street. Right. Stacked prefab levels stacked on each other, and that was affordable. But none of it really made way to the downtown property. What happened to 303 when they said they wasn't going to get an IDA tax break 2 years later? It's not occupied because of the income-wise. It wasn't affordable for Hempstead residents, and no one else wanted to move it because you didn't have a comprehensive plan. So 2 years later, you get a 30-year tax break? Sneaky, right behind our backs. We did not get to fight any of that because it came. And God bless Captain Gary. You can fight with her all you want. She gets the information for us. Amen. She gets stuff that working people don't have the time to get. That's right. I'm still looking for a comprehensive plan. The water well has to be up front. You know they're talking about not allowing any more water wells to be built, which is, what's the word again? For stopping building anything for that year's time?
Moratorium.
Moratorium, thank you. He's lost over here. He knows what it is. Yeah. Because we talked about it one of the prior meetings. I tell you, I stopped coming for a minute because I'm tired. If they put the moratorium before or in the process of this building being built, wanting to be built 233, what's going to happen with the water? We have a water crisis now. Y'all were told when we met in Kennedy Park, the engineer said we need 2 water wells. Wow. For the amount of property you're looking at, 17 parking lots given away and placing a building on all the parking lots. Come on, where's that comprehensive plan? You keep saying what we can't have, Costco, whatever you don't want, but we can't afford these apartment houses. You're talking about crime. You can't do the crime now and cover the people. How are you going to bring more? The cops can't do their job right now. You talk about bringing more. What sense is that? That's more people. That's more danger. That's more issues. That's less safety. If you can't move fast enough because there's too many people. I mean, think about what you're laying out here. It's a crisis. I understand we need development, but we need a real plan. So go back to the drawing board. Have some more meetings with people. You're in charge now. Forget what Hall did. regroup us, come sit down, let's figure this out. Another building does not work.
Gabriela Rodriguez. Gabriela Rodriguez. Thank you.
Good evening to the board.
Good evening.
Mayor, trustees, wonderful members.
We have the
of
judge up front, if you don't mind.
Hempstead.
Thank you.
My name is Specialist Rodriguez. I'm currently a member in the United States Army, and I'm also a proud citizen of Hempstead. My current living situation, I'm in between houses, between my parents and my sister's home. Currently looking for my own place. Preferably, I would like to have my own apartment here in the town of Hempstead because my friends and my family are close and dear to me. I believe strongly that this community has so much potential and so much thrive to become better. And as a member of the Uniformed Forces, I believe that affordable housing, especially for us, should be closer to home as opposed to reaching out to another community to find a housing opportunity. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Terry Winston. Thank you, everybody.
My name is Terry Winston. I'd like to take the time to thank this community for coming out here and expressing their concerns about this development. And I'll start with my statement. I question the sanity and intelligence and motives if the mayor and trustees allow Renaissance and RXR to bully them into a decision that would ultimately allow them to continue with this sparse development plan for the following reasons. The jobs created, if any, at all, are a dead end and won't produce careers. The cost to the homeowners will create undue hardship and will ultimately force us to move. Renaissance and RXR, their intentions are to build luxury apartment buildings to replace the existing affordable housing units. This will affect our elderly and those families or individuals in dire need to move elsewhere. Mayor Ryan and Hempstead Village trustees, you were not elected to fulfill your own self-interest, but to ensure that the residents in your charge have a voice and input that serves first and foremost the vested interests of all the residents of this village. I'm appalled that you have the audacity to attempt to ram yet another cash cow for the filthy rich scheme down our throats. How dare you insult our intelligence in such a brazen and callous way after the village residents voted for you and the trustees because they believed that you would have a positive approach on the growth of this village. This administration continues to follow the status quo of prior administrations, and as a result, the plight of the residents is abysmal. Is abysmal one. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
I apologize for coming in, without being called. My name is Hans Stevenon. I'm a homeowner at 144 Parsons. I sense the desperation of my neighbors. We're watching the other surrounding villages, their property values, in general have risen roughly between 17 and 20%, the surrounding villages around Hempstead. We are lucky if we can get a 4% gain. Our taxes are higher than the surrounding villages. The young people who we need to buy into Hempstead will not come into Hempstead because the truth is, nationally, the schools are the worst in the nation. Young people buy homes in school districts that are functioning, that are providing a decent education. This doing the same old thing. If really affordable housing was going to change our situation, Hempstead would be a very wealthy village, because we provide currently more affordable housing than any other village in the county of Nassau. So if that was the answer, we would be just fine. We can't expect that, I mean, I'm sure you want to do well, and you mean well, but you should do it where you come from. That's right. Because it should help your village, and you should. At the end of the day, I see all of you guys around town. I've invested my life here. I'm forced to not only pay these high taxes, but to send my daughter to a private school. It's not because I have extra money. I'm here late at night, tired, just like all of you. I've seen places turn it around. If we could get you guys to just represent our interests, sincerely, say every morning when you come into work, say what's going on with the taxpayer here. Because if you're successful and you drive us out, eventually you won't have jobs. Everybody loses. You have an interest in helping us. Help us keep our homes. Go to the core of this problem. If bringing in more people into a broken, failed, one of the worst school systems in the country, not in the state, if that was going to help, they would have done it with their village. They would never have approached us. They're approaching us because they see us as unable to defend ourselves. You have to stand up for us. It's gone too far. Invite some competition. I come from Bushwick, Brooklyn. I saw the Barclays Center go from a mess, a complete disaster. They marketed these areas. They said, hey, look, if you build here, you bring real jobs, long-lasting jobs, we'll help. And Barclays Center, now the property values are out off the chart. We have to look at systems that have already worked. We've tried this. It didn't work. Trying it one more time. Guys, don't forget, it's not your money. You're our representatives, and I got to be honest, I think this current administration is much more open than the old administration, and I thank you for that. But you can't go down this road one more time. That's all right.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, trustees, neighbors. I'm on Holly Avenue in Hempstead. However, I belong to the Uniondale School District. I moved here in 1983, and I was given the opportunity of buying on Holly Avenue or buying on Ingram Boulevard. And the real estate developers, estate said to me, Uniondale School District is a better school district, buy over there. So although I'm in Hempstead, I'm in the Uniondale School District. What causes young families to move is the schools and the education that their kids will get. Another thing about development, there are many types of development. Many developments are posed as affordable, but it's only a tiny fraction is really affordable. And when affordable development is done, it is governed by the laws and the rules of the affordability. So many of these young people are talking about getting affordable housing, but there are income limits. Their income currently now might take them out of the affordability of those units. And they have to understand this. And that's why we need to see a plan for these units. How many are going to be condos? How many are going to be affordable? What is the affordable income limits for these affordable apartments? Because there are different scales based on the income. So not because you hear affordable means that it's for you. So we need to see and know these things. Another thing about development is that if the developer does not live in the community, then they build something and move away, and sooner or later it becomes a crime place, it becomes unbearable. The Mitchell Lama projects in Brooklyn, they are now tearing down the high building structures because they failed, because after being built and the money was sucked out of them, the people had no interest in them. So they left. And we don't want to see that happening to Hempstead. We want a development plan that is sustainable, that provides career positions for the residents, and the young people who are leaving school can get decent jobs. So we need to know, building for 233 units doesn't make sense unless we know what type of units. How many are for income levels below 30,000? How many are for income levels between 30 and 50? We need to see that, and how many are condominiums. Unless we see a plan like that, Mayor and trustees, we cannot support it. Because we are pitched that it's going to be better for the community, but eventually it won't work. We won't qualify to live there. And the young people who are looking for a job, for residence, they won't get it. Secondly, the taxes. Bringing 233 apartments, that's perhaps 500 or more people back into the village, requires immediate expenditure. The water, the sewage, the light, everything goes up. And for a pilot to be issued with delayed taxes is not going to help us. We, the current residents, will have to fit that bill for the initial infrastructure improvement. And we are overtaxed already. We can't afford it. So I beg the mayor and the trustees to really examine this plan and to get knowledgeable people who can assess this plan and know what this is all about. Because we could be hearing buzzwords, affordable, and a lot of people think it's affordable. And when it's all constructed, first of all, the application goes out, and the thousands of applications that comes in for one apartment is ridiculous. And then you hear you can't get it because your income doesn't fall in the brackets to get it. Next question. How many, I'm sure a not-for-profit is associated with the development. Does that not-for-profit reside in the community? We need community not-for-profits involved in such a project. That's the only way that is going to be viable for the community, because the community not-for-profits would therefore then have a permanent stake in what's happening and improvement in the village. Thank you for your time.
Just for one quick second, I just want to address some of the things that you said. I think you were spot on all the way across the board, but in response to what you were saying, number one, the way this project, the income tiers work, these are just caps on the income. So if someone falls under that, they technically are still qualified. Number two, I agree with you on the water sewer. This project is donating $1.5 million to increase that infrastructure so that it's there. And the not-for-profit that you're representing has already been in the village. They stayed in the village. They're part of the Esprit Award. They have an office in Freeport. They've done a weatherization program here in the village, and they're doing the healthy homes in the village. And they're not going nowhere. They've been here for multiple years. So just a response to your inquiries.
Dave Hanson. Good evening.
Okay, it's mind-boggling when I heard the concern of the residents of the village of Hempstead. And Mr. Ryan, you already passed over 100 days in office. And these same signatures here is what elect you. I have over 500 people. If I tell them to jump, they jump. I upset your election and you didn't even know I did it. I spent $7,000 out of my pocket to rent cars. Now people out there hitting day and night. Your attorney, who is in this village, I was giving out flyers in Government Estate where I have my home, and I was seeing the guy walking dog give him a flyer. He said, you know who I am? I'm running with Don. You didn't know I did this. I gave you a hand of flyer with Mr. Johnson one day. I don't take corruption money. I don't need no politician money. I don't need no appointed job either. But what I'm hearing here, Mr. Ryan, you guys have no clue how government work. And I'm shaming you because I find you based on your resume. I didn't know you, but I want to get rid of Wayne Hall. The only reason why I didn't put him in jail is because he has a kidney problem. I don't like to put sick people in jail. Because I know the corruption with the money David Patterson sent to Hempstead. I know what happened from Glen Cove to Terrace Avenue, okay? Another thing, Mr. Ryan, I gave you an opportunity last week, a list of stuff that I want to see in this village. You didn't get back to me. You have your chief of staff call me and telling me crap. But you know what I'm doing right now? I'm asking for a state takeover of the village of Hempstead. You guys know nothing about how government works, okay? I worked in the Port Authority for many years, and I told you to get a book on conflict of interest and give it to every single employee. I was in this room and I heard Daniel quote this lady, and I thought that this guy was a lawyer. You don't do that in government. We put you in office to work for us, but you're working for yourself. You understand? You involved in a lot of conflict of interest, and it's time. You will be in jail very soon, my brother. The amount of stuff they have on you, the building that you live in, up there, that guy campaign, that guy contributes to your campaign. You can't do that. It's conflict of interest. You understand? You are always quick to quote these people. I'm telling you, you're going to end up like John Sampson, Kevin Simmitt. When I buy my house, John Sampson was my attorney. And I warned these guys. Dan, shame on you. I feel sorry for you. And you should have fired all appointed job. But you know what you did? Everybody driving a brand new SUV going home and holler parking when we're talking so high. I'm fed up with you, Dan. I really like you. But I'm going to tell you something. You better resign. You have a big pension plan. What's coming down the pipeline for you? You better resign. Because when I serve you guys by U.S. Marshal and get you in federal court, it's not going to be pretty, my brother. Believe me, I happen to know the law. My family came to this country in 1200 AD and helped found this village, John Hanson. You understand? My little Jaden and Jace go to Union Jail High School, #1 in triple jump, because we have the better school. When I was buying that house, my wife came from England, want to go back to Hempstead University. That's why I buy it. I gave your documents down the other day. Why do you think I run early Newport office? This same signature do it. I will run anyone out of office. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to look into you to see if conflict of interest is filed. If you want to see more, I need this thing. It's too much fraud. Now I'm going to quote safety. 380 Front Street, there was a fire. My cousin lived in that building. And that night they drenched it. The parking lot was jammed with kids. The CO called for X amount of parking lot. They have 5 times that amount. Your building department only giving certain people tickets in this village, and that's racial discrimination. I'm about to file a class action lawsuit against the village, the town, Gooseby, Mr. Rock, Dan, and everybody. And remember, I turned Nassau County over in federal court, and I fired a man and a lawyer. I fired the director for juvenile detention. Your police department are overpaid. They are high-paying security guard, and we're going to get rid of them. I'm asking Coleman now for a state review on Hardy. I'm getting the feds in here, the state in here, IRS in here. Believe me, my kid's not going to suffer because of Hofstra. We are suing Hofstra for $100 million because these kids are making residency and applying for driver's license and applying for student loan. That's why we have no money. We're going to close Hofstra.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees.
Good evening.
My name is Kevin Grims. I'm with the National Development Council. I am not a resident of the village. I was asked to evaluate this development in terms of its need for a partial tax abatement and appropriately size the tax abatement for what is necessary to create financial feasibility without providing any level of undue enrichment for the development team. I was asked to do it because I've been working with the National Development Council for 20 years. National Development Council has been operating for 50 years, and we work exclusively with communities and municipalities. We don't work for developers. We only contract out with municipalities, their economic development offices, and local development organizations. We're in 80 communities around the country, and since our founding as a nonprofit, we were established with one very simple mission: increasing the flow of capital into underserved communities. We do that in a variety of different ways, but we have worked with communities and resulted in over $3 billion of investment in the communities in which we work. We work on behalf of them to get their prioritized developments done. And I'm not, so we work with them to get their prioritized developments done and activate programs as necessary for those developments. So if you would allow me, I was asked to evaluate this development, its need for the partial tax exemption, and the appropriately sizing of the tax exemption.
Who paid?
We did not pay.
Who did?
Developer.
The developer paid for it.
The developer paid the fee, but one thing that we always insist on is that we contract out the municipality so that we can protect the interest of the municipalities like we do all the time. So our assignment was to review the development program and the developer financial model. Also determine the need for the partial tax exemption under Title IX of the New York State Housing Law. Finally, to offer comment on the sizing and terms of the partial tax exemption to the village officials, staff, and elected officials. So essentially, we're looking to attract investment. I was really taken aback by some of the taxes that some of the homeowners had mentioned here. The fact of the matter is the taxes are very high. However, in order to stabilize that, we're to have the potential to decrease those taxes. Us as professionals and working with communities around the country, what's necessary is to increase investment. Only by increasing the investment is the rateable is going to go up, your tax base is going to go up. For this particular property, right near the train station, mixed income, mixed use, transit-oriented development, for the communities that we have witnessed that have really recreated marketplaces and recreated the communities, those communities that have done it well are those communities that have embraced mixed use. This is a commercial building and a residential building. Mixed income. The program involves market rate housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing. And truthfully, the easiest thing could be done on this particular development is I have 100% affordable development. That's not what the market needs. It needs mixed use. Excuse me, mixed income. So again, there is housing made available to 50 and 60% of area median income. Remember, we're dealing with a very, very high area median income. It's based upon the Nassau-Suffolk area median income, not the village of Hempstead. The disparity is immense. The area median income for Nassau-Suffolk is over $100,000. The village of Hempstead, $53,000. So there's a big disparity between area median income and village median income. This program involves affordable workforce and market to respond to not only the needs of village residents, such as some of the young professionals that want to work here, but then also those that want the affordable here.
Thank you. Well, I'll bring it to a conclusion if you don't mind, sir.
This development has been very creatively structured with tax credits and soft money from the state. The developers have maximized their debt and equity. So if the development was taxed at full assessment, it would be equivalent to $8,200 a unit. This proposed partial tax abatement starts the taxes at $1,200 per unit, increases at 3%. That is exclusive to the commercial taxes on the $23,000 because that will be separate and apart from the commercial development. So taxed at full assessment, the developer would lose $17 million of borrowing authority, and it simply would not be feasible. So what the village gets is a $50,000 immediate increment in addition to $2.6 million of one-time fees to cover the cost of the infrastructure.
You can't do
It
that.
is now time to vote. Madam Village Clerk, would you
Mr.
read
Mayor.
the motion?
Mr. Mayor, before we,
Hold on one second, please.
before we go into the motion, I listened to everyone here. I did not speak, simply because I wanted to gather in and listen to most of you all. Some of the things that were said about the boards that's sitting here, I see about 5 or 6, 7 people that voted for me, perhaps more than that in the audience. And I made a promise to all of you all when I ran, and I have no intention of going back on my promise. I cannot be a true politician because I am for the people. So, in saying all that, I held my speech until the end specifically because when we get to accusing people of certain things, calling them fraud, and we're on the take and all that stuff, I am not on the take, and either I don't think any board members that are sitting here with me now are on the take. So no, I'm not taking it personal because I know I'm not involved in that. So I did not say a word when you were speaking. Not one word. When everybody was speaking, I sat here and I listened. So all I ask for is the same respect when I talk. That's all I ask for. So now, if you think that I'm going to live in this village for over 60-something years, closer, well, never mind all that. That I know most of you in this room. I have my neighbors here. They helped me get elected to where I'm sitting. And if you think that I'm going to sit here and go back on you, then you don't know me. So I'm asking you all to allow us to do what it is that we have to do for you all. And next time if we run again, then if you don't want someone who's going to be honest and true, then don't vote for them. But if you elected me to represent you, that is exactly what I'm going to do in spite of what all of you all might think of what you hear or what you're out there saying. Because most of it is not true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
One of the things I heard young man up here talking about all the different incomes and so forth and how much it's going to cost people to live there. I think we need to know how much each apartment is costing for people to live there because some people think it's low. We have a lot of affordable housing here. I don't even think we have, I don't know what the cost is for people living in 303. We need to have, the people need to know before you vote. If you would mind, if you could give us that information so that we know how much it costs to live there.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to that. Many of the discussion points today were inaccurate. Some of the facts were inaccurate, so I'm happy to speak to that. So, Trustee Daniels made a point earlier about the income limits. I think it's really important that everybody understands some of the things that Mr. Gary said were not accurate about the income limits. So the income limits that were mentioned are maximum income. The minimum incomes, and I'm going to give you a range because there's a lot of different levels, but the minimum income to be affordable to live and qualify is $24,504.
When you say affordable, you're talking about the 8 units or a bigger number?
Any of the units. It doesn't matter. The income limits, as Trustee Daniels mentioned, are maximum levels. So the minimum incomes that are allowable, because you have to be able to afford the rent, are $24,504 up to $36,408, and that depends on the unit size. So it's based on family size and unit size. The maximum incomes run between, depending on what it is, the various income levels. We have many here so that we can accept a broad range of folks. The maximums run between $40,850 up to $105,000. There's many different levels. As far as the rents are concerned, and again, I'll give you ranges because it varies. The rents start at $937 a month plus utilities, and up to a 2-bedroom of, and there's only several that are up to about $2,000 for a 2-bedroom. And the mean is about $1,200, 12 to 13. That's kind of the average, plus utilities. Now, these are not final rents. They have to be finally approved by the state agency, and they are dictated and regulated by HUD. So they're reviewing that now, and before we close, those will all be finalized.
How many studios? How many studios?
We have 30 studios, 141 bedrooms, and 58 2-bedrooms.
So it's not really family housing?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Speak up, we'll get an idea what's going on.
The rents run from $937 a month to $2,000 a month plus utilities.
But there's only a certain amount of apartments at that low amount that you'll be able to rent for that amount. There's a minimum amount.
So that I'll just give you one more set of facts, because there's many different sizes and units and rents. So the studios go from $937 to $1,500 depending on your income level. The 1-bedrooms go from $1,004 to $1,700 depending on your income level. And the 2-bedrooms go from $1,200 to $2,000 depending on your income level.
So how does a 1-bedroom explain it? That's not, you said utility, explain to them.
It's adjusted to household size. The income levels get adjusted to household sizes. But keep in mind, you know, I hear in the front people saying that's not family housing. Well, family housing would impact the school district. And if you want deeper affordability, that's going to impact the amount of taxes that the buildings would actually pay. So you can't get it all wrapped up in with one bow. All these things are interrelated. They are all interrelated. So if you want 100% subsidized housing, then expect to get 0 taxes in return for that subsidy. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it.
Okay, thank you very much. People are
obviously are ingrained in this. I understand that. But be very careful about who you allow to lead this chance. Okay? Because some of the information is flat out wrong. Some of the information is flat out wrong.
They're not asking for a 30-year tax bracket.
No. I don't want to turn it into a free-for-all. But Ms. Sharp, because I have a lot of respect for you and your family and everybody else, and I will tell you, the reason why there's a 30-year tail to this transaction is because if the rents are capped and then all of a sudden the affordability burns off and the taxes go up, that will cause the landlord basically to raise the rent, to turn the building into crap. If he can't collect rent, but the taxes are now high, how can they maintain Ms. Gary, can I speak to somebody else? Or you could go do that in Rockville Center, where they built 544 units.
That's uncalled for.
Mayor,
He speak already, he spoke about that.
just as a point of order, Mayor, last time when we were here, it was a week ago, and Trustee Pettis had asked for an opportunity to learn more about the project. And he said he would meet the next day. We tried to reach out to him. Apparently he has a health situation with a family friend, has not been able to meet with us between now and then. And I understand tonight he's not here again tonight. We are under tight time frames, but I don't know, we're really looking for the full board to have an opportunity.
Mr. Deegan, in all fairness, you had a year to talk to the trustee. You had a year to talk to me. You never even talked to the deputy mayor. I think it's time to vote. Thank you, sir.
Development Fund, LLC, a property extension pursuant to Private Housing Finance Law, PHFL, Section 5771A and 2A, as set forth herein.
You're gonna read the whole resolution?
Oh, no, I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
The resolution is.
Ask for the vote.
Okay, why is she reading the whole resolution?
Have motion?
The resolution.
It's 4 pages,
You don't know
Ms.
what the
Gary.
resolution is.
That's what it was available on the website since 2 months
Yes, but it's
ago.
not available here.
I move to table this resolution until trustee Pettis could return back to the board so that he could have
We have a forum, let's vote. Does the board want to grant common place housing development fund a property tax exemption pursuant to the private finance law as set forth herein? Please poll the board.
No, I need a motion first.
Yes, my motion.
Second.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Abstain.
Trustee Renfro?
No.
Trustee Daniels?
abstain.
Mayor Ryan?
No.
Motion to adjourn.
We move to adjourn, please. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second. Trustee Johnson? Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels? Mayor Ryan?
Yes. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your attendance.